Hi guys, welcome. Today is Thursday, the 17th, and I have my good friend Benz who has been very, very busy, but had every intention of coming back on this Book of Daniel day. So here we are back for chapter 6. Say hi, Benz.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a while. I've been really busy.
Well, you know what? Busy sometimes is good, and people have been looking forward to more Daniel, but nobody has been complaining, and I'm so glad that they're not, because here we are now.
Oh, good. Yay.
So we have a
All
lot to
right.
talk about, but as the conversation will go, remember people, we're not but biblical scholars. We're just doing this because
Yeah.
we enjoy it. We get to come together as two friends who get to read Bible scripture, talk about it, and talk about other things too, because we were talking about our Bibles that we have, different versions, and so we'll probably talk a little bit about that. But Ben was happy to read the first, there's 28 verses in the book of Daniel, chapter 6. So if you have your own Bible you prefer and you'd like to read your version, we are going to be reading from the King James Version. And whenever you like, you can start, or if you have something else you want to say before you get started on those first 14 verses, and then I'll take the last 14.
Okay. We were doing a little bit of research. Well, just some examination, just so you guys know. Um, I'm checking another Bible I have. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Uh, 13. Okay. This one says. This one says Red Sea. Just Red Sea. I'm looking in the Et Sefer. Um, the Et Sefer just says the Red Sea.
Before we
But
started, Ben's wanted to see if the Red
yeah,
Sea was called by something else in the King James. You said it was called. This is unrelated to Daniel, but it was just something we were talking about before we
yeah,
started. So he just wanted to check that real quick. And you said there was one that was calling it the Reed Sea, right?
right. So the King James version of the Bible says that when Moses crossed the the Red Sea, it just says the Red Sea. So and let's see. I'm looking at is it Exodus right now.
Which Exodus? Where are you looking?
13.
Exodus 13.
King James version. Yeah, 13 verse 18 says, "But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea." There's no identifier on Red Sea to say anything down in chapter 18 at the bottom for
Same.
the King
I have
James version.
also a Dewey Rames, and Dewey Rames calls it the Red Sea with no other indication of any other
No, I did
term.
it. Okay, so I went for those of you guys who are wondering what I'm doing. I went and bought a uh, sorry, okay. Uh, I went and bought a New American Standard Bible. Now, the New American Standard Bible is made by the Lockman Foundation, and it is well known to be the most literal translation. Now, they have two versions. They have one where it's literal translations, like word for word, exactly what the original Hebrew or exactly what the original um, Aramaic or Greek, exactly what they said, the original ancient Bibles or the scriptures that they had. So they go word for word. Uh, and then there's another one that is basically not word for word, but it's um, what the phrases that they said back then, what those phrases, whatever they were saying, what it would mean today. So, like when it says, when Jesus said to Paul, struck him down, he said, "Why are you kicking against the pricks?" I believe he said that to him. That literally means like, why, you're kicking against some sharp things, you're just going to injure your feet. Um, and that we have other things that we say, but we still kind of say that sometimes. In England, they still say that, I believe. But they have a second Bible that says what it would be that we would say today. However, I didn't get that one. I got the one that's the regular standard New American Standard Bible. And so what we were looking up at was, I had this idea. I had heard the Red Sea was actually the Reed Sea. And actually, where they found all those chariot wheels and horse skeletons and all that, or horse armament, where they found it was in the bottom of the Reed Sea. The Reed Sea is much smaller and much shallower and much thinner than the Red Sea. Now, I'm not saying that God couldn't have brought them through the Red Sea, but I like to be factually correct and find where the evidence and the proof is. A lot of people have told me there's no evidence that the Israelites were ever in Egypt. I've heard that before, but there's also no evidence of the remains of the Pharaoh's army on the bottom of the Red Sea. There is, however, remains of the Pharaoh's army on the bottom of the Reed Sea. And when you get anyone who knows Hebrew to look at the Hebrew word that is used, it does not say the color red. It says the plant reed. It doesn't say the sea of red. It says the sea of reeds. So when I got my New American Standard Bible, I thought that's a good test. So are you following along? Can you hear me
Yep,
still?
I'm still listening. Yeah, we're all listening.
Okay. All right, sometimes Discord drops me out. So I'm looking here as a test in Exodus. If anyone wants to look this up, on if they have like the eSword or one of those Bible apps, your version or YouVersion Bible app on Android. If you look up on the New American Standard Version, it says Exodus 13, chapter 18, hence God led the people around by the way of the wilderness to the Red Sea. And on Red Sea, it has a little mark, a little indicator. On here, it has a 1. And when I look at 18, the little 1, it says literally Sea of Reeds, as in the plant, not the color. So it's literally the Reed Sea, not the Red Sea. So there's a mistranslation, and they have actually identified it in the New American Standard Bible, which is pretty interesting.
It'd be good to look up the Godspeed thing too, maybe.
Yeah, I think I may have looked that up as well, but that was a while back. I was looking it up through a bunch of different Bible versions that I didn't know what the New American Standard Bible was. So, but dude, this thing is big.
Good.
This thing has like a 2.5-inch bind.
You'll be able to educate
I think it's
us
actually
on.
2.5 inches.
You'll be able to educate us even
Yeah.
more and more. So, is the Reed
I'll-
Sea supposed to be anywhere close to the Red Sea?
Yes, the Reed Sea is attached to the Red Sea. It's further down it's like a smaller part of the Red Sea. It's like kind of like a large river. I guess it's like a very large river. It took them a while to cross it. It'd be like, I guess, kind of like crossing a wide part of the Mississippi River. So something like that.
Big, yeah.
I don't know this. I don't know the specifics. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for certain. But it's not like a big sea, but it is a very large body of water that they did cross. But it's not nearly as big as the Red Sea. The Red Sea is much bigger. The Reed Sea is much smaller. Someone was showing me pictures of it. I'm not staring at them right now, so I don't have a reference to go off of. But I remember the Sea of Reeds, the Reed Sea, being much smaller, but it was connected to the Red Sea.
Sean Craig
yeah.
reminds us about Ron Wyatt, who, yes, has done excellent work on many things and is a good recommendation. I just want you guys to know, you can feel sorry for me if you want to. I bought a new, this is just a little, this intro, an update to my life, but I bought a new computer chair, a gaming chair, and I was so excited because I got it I got it yesterday. And as I began to put it together, didn't take long to figure out there was a very essential piece missing. Very essential. It's called the gas lift. The gas lift is the
Oh,
piece that you put the chair on so that you
yeah.
can lift it up and down. Didn't have it. Didn't have this piece. Had to wait because of course the place was closed. I was so excited because this chair is like 100 times better than the chair I have. Didn't spend a lot of money. I think I spent 120 bucks or 130 bucks, but anyway, I'm missing an entire piece that I must have in order to put this chair together. So I got a hold of
Yeah.
them. I got a hold of them, called them right away this morning, and they said, okay, well, we'll get that to you in 2 to 3 business days. And I'm like, can't you send it overnight? And they said, no, we can't send anything overnight that isn't essential. And I said, this is essential for me to put the chair together. And what she meant was because of the stupid COVID virus, they cannot overnight.
Oh, yeah.
FedEx is refusing to overnight anything that is not considered essential, like medical supplies and all that jazz. So, not that this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I just think it's like sad, kind of funny, but sad.
Hashtag beer flu.
Yeah, right. But sad that
Yeah.
you can't overnight anything with FedEx because it's, unless
Oh
you're
yeah.
sending medical supplies. But also kind of funny that the
Wow.
one piece that was missing, pretty important to you ever putting this thing together. So, anywho,
That
that's,
is a little weird.
I know, I thought so too. I'm like, how do you miss that? That big, it's a big piece. It's not a small piece. It's not like they're missing a bolt or
Yeah.
a washer or something like that. But I don't
Was
like
there
the.
like was there like a set of telescoping plastic pieces that like cover it as
No,
well, or that
there
are supposed
wasn't
to
even
cover it?
a box that I mean, there was a box that could have looked like it might have housed it, but I think it was a little too small, a little too short. But I
Hmm.
agree with who said it? Where is it? No man is essential. Oh, thank you. Two Death 3 says no man is non-essential. Is that from the Twilight Zone? Ooh. Hmm. Oh, and I'm going to be doing this more in depth with somebody, but I watched V for Vendetta, and boy, isn't that isn't a sign of the
Oh,
times. But there was a quote on
oh
that too. We
yeah.
will get to Daniel, guys, by the way. Just give me a second. But there is a part where he says like no man worthwhile man would wear a mask or something like that. Oh, a man
No
does not wear a
worthwhile
mask.
man.
Yeah, a man does not wear a mask. Like a true man does not wear a mask is anyway one of the quotes. So,
I was listening to someone. I was listening to someone talk about who was I listening to? Apparently, groups of kids are now going into stores and they're yelling at people to take off their
I
masks.
heard that too, and
They're
I
like
like it.
groups of
Good.
yeah, there's like groups of teenagers that are like going into stores and they're yelling at people to take off their masks.
I've heard
Uh,
that too, and I hope that that becomes a real thing.
hmm.
Okay, we better
There's like people around the area.
go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, finish
yeah,
your thought. Finish
yeah.
your thought, and
Enough
then we'll get
talking.
started. Yeah, finish your thought, and
Um,
then
yeah, people are getting fed up with the whole uh, hashtag beer flu. They're getting fed up with the whole fake stuff. They know that it's not real. They know that they're being lied to. They know it's not real. But
mm-hmm.
still waiting for that permanent lockdown. And, they're gonna roll it out
Well,
supposedly any day.
I know, and well, I don't know.
Uh,
I don't think we can trust some of these dreamers anymore. But I would say that
yeah,
we need some more
I do
people.
know.
We need some more people on the streets like the Boondock Saints, because I also just rewatched that. And where are Lonnie Justice people?
uh, this is something I had to remind someone today because there's a guy in another chat that I'm in that he does a lot of stuff about like he follows the whole problem with the pedophiles in our government stuff, and so he makes a lot of memes about what about that to try to wake people up and try to say, hey, I don't care about this. I care about the fact there's pedophiles in our government, stealing our kids, and why don't you, or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I one of the things I wrote him a thing. I said, hey, I want you to start making memes this way, where you say, the reason why we have all these pedophiles and criminals and Satanists in our government is because America has fallen away from God. And because they've fallen away from God, He has allowed them to enter. Everything's under His control. Therefore,
Right.
He is the reason why they've entered in, because we have fallen away. And like someone was saying, oh, it's free will, it's free will. They do what they want and they'll be judged. And I said, well, yeah, and we have free will too. And I said, we have used our free will to turn away from God, and or as a nation, and God has used his free will to remove his protection from the Satanists and pedophiles who have used their free will to invade our government. So there you go.
Yep.
It's all about free will. It's all about free will. So, yeah,
Well,
and that's
it's
where we're at.
it's our free will to get started on Daniel.
Yep, yep. All right. All right. So we're on chapter 6.
That's right.
So I've got a little blurb here at the front. Chapter 6. Darius makes Daniel the first of his presidents. Daniel worships the Lord in defiance of a decree of Darius. He is cast into the den of lions. His faith saves him, and Darius decrees that all people are to revere the God of Daniel. Again, this is the King James Version that comes with the LDS stuff, so the Mormon King James Version. They couldn't alter it. They could put like subnotes and stuff, but they couldn't alter the actual text because they said it didn't have copyright. So I'm assuming this should be okay.
But I'm sure it's fine, and I've got up in front of me the
Yeah.
King James Version as well, and I don't think we've ever had any real discrepancies. So take it away.
Okay. All right. Chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion, nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains, have consulted together to establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree, that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Therefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed, and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled, and found Daniel praying, and making supplication before his God. Therefore they came near, and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree, that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth thee not, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him.
All right, verse 15 going down. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king establisheth may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel, and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And a stone was brought, and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lord, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace, and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning, and went in haste unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then Daniel said unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me, forasmuch as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, wherever they came at the bottom of the den. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, Peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So I'm sure you've had thoughts as we read this. Why don't you start, and then I'll give some of my thoughts, unless you don't want to. I can go first. Whatever you want.
Oh yeah, I've got some thoughts.
I'll go for it.
So this makes me think of what I was just talking about before, about the people who've gotten those positions in our government. So you have the same people here that have gotten those positions in their government, and they sought to have someone thrown in prison, or well, in this case, lion's den, where they would be basically destroyed. But Daniel had faith, and he, he was protected by God as well, and so this is like a sign of like a thing of like what could happen. Like if I'm trying to think of how I'm trying to say this. Basically, this is the type of thing that we would need, because in the end, all those people who did all these things, they were thrown into the lion's den. But it's kind of like a simile of what would need to happen in our country. But I don't think that's going to happen, because so many people are too far gone, and too far brainwashed into what they've been shown. But yeah, it's just like this is the type of thing that God could do. When you got people who are trying to destroy you, he can have all those people thrown into prison, or thrown into a furnace, or thrown into lion's den, and destroyed themselves. And that's just a thought.
I'd like to respond. If we had a good-natured leader, which there have been times in the Bible where there wasn't, like King Saul, but this particular
Mm-hmm.
Darius liked Daniel, and
Mm-hmm.
he was fooled and tricked, and of course he had to see it through, which he did. So he kept his credibility up in that way. But once Daniel
Mm-hmm.
survived, he took measures, which, like you said, we wish we could see, but we don't have a good leader. We don't have someone that wants to seek justice. I mean, what the governors have done in this country and are still doing, with Hawaii being
Yeah.
on a lockdown still, and I know some other places are on lockdown. I'm grateful where I live in the town of Billings, Montana, just 2 hours over in Bozeman. It's crazy. Just talked to a friend that lives there today. And so she says these people are
Cool.
crazy. She's like, they're just crazy up there with the masks and the concern of this fake virus. So we've got,
Like the people themselves, or
yeah,
the governor of the
no,
city,
the citizens.
or
The citizens are
the
all
citizens.
believing in it. They're all scared by it. 2 hours away in Bozeman, Montana. You
Mm-hmm.
know why? Because it's a leftist community. So anyway, my point is we don't have a leader that
Oh
wants
yeah.
to see justice
See?
happen. Everybody, Bill Barr's going to do this, Bill Barr's going to do that, and Bill Barr doesn't seem to be doing anything now. I'm okay if I'm wrong with this, and it turns out that in the second duration of Trump's reelection, which I'm sure he'll be reelected, that maybe these
Mm-hmm.
things will finally happen and he had to wait or something. But what stinks about that, you guys, is that means there's no transparency and we have a leader that doesn't want to tell us the truth so that he can get reelected. If that turns out to do us
Yeah.
some favors, great. So anyway, I just wanted to say that we don't have a leader in the position that would say, wow, that was so wrong and I'm going to do something about it right here, right now, and make an example.
Yeah. Yeah. There's what you were saying about the leftists. They end up running their lives with fear. Like fear controls their lives and it runs their lives, and they do all of their actions based on fear because they have no faith.
That's right.
Faith is fear. Fear is literally, like, the original meaning of the word fear is literally a lack of faith. It is faithlessness. That was the original meaning of the original word for fear, was faithlessness. Like, you didn't have any faith. Therefore, the absence of faith was the fear. Yeah. And so there's so many people who live on fear. Just what fuels them, what drives them, makes them do things, the actions they take. Even I've been subjected to that. I've seen it. I throw away a lot of my fear, but I've still seen it. I still see it pop up like other fears that I have. Just brought more of them into the open that I hadn't seen or hadn't known about before, which is fine because now I know they're there.
Which is why we have these stories, because this isn't the first time Daniel has
Yeah,
faced this kind of horrific,
yeah.
and when they tried to burn him before, they tried to throw him in the fire. Well, they did throw him in the fire, but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
you think about the
Well,
line.
they threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Right, right.
Uh, they threw them. I don't think Daniel was part of that because there was
Okay,
only
but that
three of
was
them
in the
there,
book
but
of
there was four
Daniel.
people in there.
That was in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
book
yeah.
of Daniel.
Well,
So,
they went with him. They were the other three that were with Daniel who came
right,
from
right.
there. Yeah. So
Yeah, we're not biblical
they
scholars,
had
especially me, guys. We're learning
yeah,
together. So
but,
it's.
yeah.
Thank you for your patience. I
So
was going to say though, to have this kind of faith, so he knew them obviously. They were spared,
yeah,
and for him to be thrown in with
all
lions, it doesn't mean he wasn't afraid, but he had enough faith that he I don't know if he was afraid or
he
not. The
prayed.
Bible
He
doesn't tell us, but yes,
must have been praying.
he prayed
Yeah.
3 times a day, and I like this particular commentary because it mentions that the kind of prayer, like there was one guy, it mentioned here that there was a man, he was so busy, maybe it's in the beginning commentary, he said, I have a very, Luther used to say, must be Martin Luther, I have so much to do today. No, it can't be Martin Luther, it just says Luther. I don't know which Luther they're talking about, but it says Luther used
Yeah,
to
it might be
say,
Martin Luther.
Okay, it says, quote, I have so much to do today that I cannot get through with less than 3 hours of prayer. So it was he had such a busy day that he was like, I must pray 3 hours. I have to have at least 3 hours of prayer to deal with all that I'm doing today. Whereas most of us would say, I have so much to do today, I can't pray 3 times a day or even once
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting way to put it. I have so much to do. I can't get by without 3 hours of prayer.
Right. And I think, I noticed that when you talked about having fears, when I'm having more fears, which I've told you guys, I've um, been vulnerable lately and asked, which is good. This is not a brag. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's a little scary, but I've done it to tell you guys I've been having anxiety and fear, and I've asked for prayer, and it's gotten way. It's totally manageable. There was a time in my life it was not remotely manageable. I had panic attacks. I was taking Ativan for them. We're talking 20 some years ago. It doesn't matter though. I resorted to drugs and alcohol back then, and now I'm just praying. Every time it pops up, I pray, and then it goes away, and it comes back, and then I pray, and then it goes away. And now I realize back then all I could think about was my anxiety and having fear of anxiety. Now I say, wow, more of my day is without anxiety. It just pops in and out once in a while. But most of my day I don't have it. Instead of being the main focus like it was when I was younger.
Wow, that is pretty cool. Ah, so okay, so
Yeah, that's not kind of a sidebar, but not because I mean I think about this kind of faith to go into a den of lions, and even King Darius had faith that Daniel would be delivered.
I think in that one, he was actually like he was asking to see if he was still alive. So,
Well, you know what I mean, though. But what he
did
said to him before he went in is that he said, "Thy God, whom
oh
thou
yeah, yeah.
servest continually, he will deliver thee."
Yeah. Um, let's see.
That
Yes.
was
So
in
I opened up the
6:16.
yeah. I opened up the New American Standard Bible for that passage. So it's Daniel chapter 6, so verse 16.
16.
So this one it says, so then the king gave orders, and Daniel was brought in and cast into the lion's den. The king spoke and said to Daniel, your God, whom you constantly serve, will himself deliver you.
There you
A
go. He
a
says it there too.
17, yeah, 17a. Oh, Lamentations 3:53. And what's MT? MT. Who's
Matthew?
MT? Maybe Matthew. Ah, yeah, that might be Matthew. Matthew 27:66. But let's see. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so that's a different passage. Yeah, a stone was brought and laid over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, and with the signet rings of his nobles, so that nothing could be changed in regard to Daniel. And the king went off to his palace and spent the night fasting, and no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled. So he was actually fasting. Huh.
Right.
Well, that is interesting. So he was
It's
fasting and he
almost like he
couldn't
was
sleep. He was probably just
prayerful or something
probably
in a way.
nervous. Yeah,
I'm sure he
or
was.
or nervous wreck. He liked Daniel. Might have
Yep.
been just a nervous wreck. So the king arose at dawn at the break of day and went in haste to the lion's den. When he came, when he had come near the den to Daniel, he cried out with a troubled voice. A troubled voice. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you constantly serve, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel spoke to the king, O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, and they have not harmed me, inasmuch as I was found innocent before him, and also towards you, O king, I have committed no crime. And the king was very pleased and gave orders for Daniel to be taken up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. Then the king then gave orders, and they brought those men who had maliciously accused Daniel, and they cast them, their children, and their wives into the lion's den. And they had not reached the bottom of the den before the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah,
They didn't even get to
you
the
should have been
bottom
paying
of the.
attention to the first time I read it.
Well, it doesn't say that. It
It
doesn't
does
say that. It
too.
says let's
It
see, 24.
it says something. It says it
Uh,
basically like that. It says, and the king commanded, and
and the
they brought those
lions
men.
had master.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it says it differently. It's just, and the lions had the mastery of them and break all their bones in pieces or ever they came at the bottom of the den. I guess that
Yeah.
means or ever they came. I guess that means before they got to the bottom. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, the King James
yeah.
it can be. I've gotten a lot more used to it, but it's good to have other versions to go to. I agree with
So,
having another
so yeah,
version.
so right. So now there was a picture going around that I saw. Someone posted in one of the chat rooms that I saw, and it said all these verses from the King James, and it showed all these different Bibles how it didn't have that verse. And so I started tracking down these verses. It said it didn't have that verse or where they changed it. And I looked them up and I was reading them because I have I have this Bible now, the North American Standard, the New American Standard Bible, but I also have the app on my phone, and so I've been having it read to me because I listen to it and learn it better, or I comprehend it better when I do that. If I sit there and try to read it myself, I will fall asleep. I'll get
Yeah.
stuck on passages that go over and over, read a paragraph over and over and over again, get stuck on like the first line. It just, like, wait, what? I was falling asleep while I was reading that. I was thinking of something else. But if someone's reading it to me, like the guy who read all of the Bible for the New American Standard Bible, his voice is pretty good. It kind of flows pretty well, and it's in normal English. Like the King James version of one that they have, it's actually a British guy who's reading it. So
Right. Because it probably
it's
makes more sense to them.
it's
I
yeah,
have
yeah, and it's also, yeah, it makes sense because it's from England. So
I have a Dewey
yeah.
Rames version too. So for anyone who doesn't know, my mom gifted this to me because she's a Catholic. But the Dewey Rames is the revised. Um, let's see. It was the translation from the Latin Vulgate by a bishop in AD 1749. So it says, and they were cast into the lion's den, they and their children and their wives, and they did not reach the bottom of the den before the lions caught them and broke all their bones in pieces.
Ah, okay. So it's a more updated version of English.
Well, it's just, the
This is
reason that the King James was written the way it was is he wanted it to sound poetic and have this kind of sound to it that
mm,
wasn't actually maybe even how
yeah,
people
okay.
spoke in the day. So it's
Yeah,
not
okay.
it's not an easy read, and it's not necessary. I know a lot of people think
It
King James is the version, but it really isn't. It's not the version. There
so
are many good
so
versions.
so is it possible then that it's actually just like old English?
Yeah, probably because he wanted it. King James himself wanted it to sound poetic and flowy and have like this beautiful sound to it, which really does, especially in Psalm 23, when you read, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and walketh me beside the still waters. And
Yeah.
he leads me to paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff they comfort me." And
Yeah.
people love that version. That's the version that people
Mhm.
love, but that is the King James version.
Yeah.
It's very poetic and
Right.
flowy,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean it's the right version. It can be a
Right.
difficult read.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna look at the at Sefer here just for fun. Um. All right. Let's see. That was chapter 6, verse. Which one were we reading?
24.
Yeah, okay. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, uh, that's his name in Hebrew, Daniel, um, something like that. And they cast them into the den of lions, them their children and their women. And the lions had the mastery of them and broke all their bones in pieces before they came at the bottom of the den.
Which sounds like the King James version. Yeah.
Different. The King James version I have says "ere or ever they
Oh,
came at the
okay.
bottom of the den."
Okay. A
Yeah,
little bit different.
is that what yours says too on
Yeah, it
the
says in or ever they
eSword?
came. Yep. Or ever they
Yeah,
came at the bottom of
yeah,
the din.
yeah. So like that that passage doesn't really make like sense to me. Wherever they came, like I don't have a relation for that. I didn't learn that, so it doesn't mean before they got to the bottom. To me, it sounds kind of foreign, like it's supposed to mean something else. So I don't know. That's just
Okay.
something. Um, let's see. Oh, and let's see. What was that part where he says? Let's see, 20. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste. Oh, whoops. Went in
You were starting
haste.
on 18, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spoke and said, O Daniel, said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living Eloah, is your Eloah or Eloah, whom you serve continually, able to deliver you from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My Eloah has sent his angel and has shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before you, O king, have I done no hurt. Yeah. The then was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his Eloah. So Eloah, that's what it is, Eloah. That's like the word for God. Um, it's the
Okay.
word they're using.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, that's the chapter. There's a part I'm just looking. There's a part in chapter 5, verse 23, where he says, "But have lifted up yourself against the Adonai of heaven," which is also a word for God. Did
Right.
you heard the word Adonai?
Yeah,
Adonai?
I have.
Adonai?
Yes.
Yeah. So it says before that in verse 21, till he knew that the Most High Eloah ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appoints over it whomsoever he will. Oh, well, that's an interesting thing. So, yeah, President Trump, who's doing some good stuff and a lot of bad stuff over our country, has been appointed by God. Even though the evil ones think that they're pointing him and smiling and laughing and saying, "Ha ha ha, we got them now." He was put there by God. He's the president we deserve
Mm.
because that's who God says we deserve. And so all the people who think that, oh, he's going to save us now, he's put there because that's who we deserve. And this is not good things coming.
Well,
Just say that.
I it's hard to say because the Lord is long
Yeah.
suffering and we shouldn't be afraid to ask for more time. And
Hmm.
I do. I pray for time
Well,
to raise my
oh,
children and to show them a way of
yeah.
life that's better than the way I grew up. And it might be difficult, but yeah, I'm not a. Somebody mentioned, well, two death three mentions Kim Clement, and I don't believe anything. I don't not anything. I don't
I got
believe.
something
I
about
don't.
that.
I don't.
I
Well, I'll just say
I
real
got
quick. I'll
something about
finish my
that.
thought. I don't. I'm not a believer in Kim Clement and his prophecies. I'm not a believer in Mark Taylor and his prophecies, and as Ben knows, I'm definitely not a believer in Dana Coverstone and his quote unquote
Yeah.
prophetic
Okay.
dreams.
So about Kim Clement. So the deal with Kim Clement is he's pushing the same, or he was before he died. He was pushing the same things that Mark Taylor is pushing now.
That's right.
He was saying the same things that Mark Taylor is saying today, and like you look at the things he was saying. I watched a bunch of his videos, and I was like, oh my goodness, this guy was
That's right.
prophesying about President Trump coming before he
Mark
actually came.
Taylor and him
Uh,
are almost indistinguishable.
they're Yeah, they are saying the exact same things. And here's the thing: Mark Taylor saying the same things that Kim Clement was saying is pushing what Q pushed, and is saying the same things that Q and Kim Clement are both saying. That all three of them are saying the same things. All three
Of
of them.
course.
It's not just Kim Clement. It's not just Mark Taylor. It's not just Q. All three of them are saying the same thing.
Sounds like
They
an
are.
agenda to me.
Yes, yes. And we know Q to not be legit. I mean, we know it's fallen angel nonsense. It literally is. And the reason why is because where we go one, we go all. That was literally the oath they took on Mount Hermon when they came down and decided to take wives.
In the book of
They
Enoch.
made an oath that they would. No, no. In the book,
No?
well, yeah, in the book of Enoch, in the book, I believe it's in the book of Enoch. But when they came down in Genesis chapter 6, it speaks about this in the book of Enoch. They came down to Mount Hermon and they made an oath. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is in the book of Enoch, but that particular part of Genesis chapter 6, it doesn't say it in there. It says in the book of Enoch. But yeah, they made an oath on Mount Hermon about that they would all join in this thing together. They would not, never. They wouldn't leave a fallen brother behind. And so they all
Fallen.
committed this
Fallen.
egregious
Fallen
sin.
being the case. Fallen being the.
Yeah, fallen being the key word. They wouldn't leave a fallen brother behind, and and they would all fall together. And so they did that. And for some reason, I don't know why I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have the knowledge we have today. I imagine, I wonder about that. Is there like a whole bunch of knowledge that we have today that even the fallen angels or the angels back then didn't have? Like, I wonder about that. Some of the things that they just do or did or decided on just didn't make sense. Like, we look at it as like, huh, well, we knew that was going to happen. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? They were going to do this and get away with it. I mean,
Because of
we know
the massive deception. Because you can look at these secret
yeah,
societies.
yeah.
Even if you get to the very
Uh,
top, you're still lied to from Satan. You never
well,
get the whole
even,
truth.
but I'm talking, these fallen angels, they didn't immediately get with Satan. They went to Jesus and said, we want to come down here and we want to help them out. They were watchers. They were supposed to be guiding their ward. And they said, we want to come down there and help them directly. And, of course, Jesus said, you're not going to be able to handle this.
Well, there was
This
already
isn't
a
designed
deception.
for you.
There must have already
Yeah,
been a deception over them.
there was already the deception that had happened before by Satan, and they probably were just the last what do you call them, the last few people who were like kind of decided, I think I will go join him, and then, they're like, well, I was sitting on the fence and the time came and went and I didn't make a choice, but now I think I will choose Satan's path, and then they went and fell, and the rest is history. Literally, the landscape,
Well,
the mountains.
speaking of this, maybe why they didn't know is I'm going to go to the book of Matthew, and I'm going to read a little bit from that, starting
Okay.
on chapter 13, verse 9. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. And his disciples came and said to him, Why speakest thou to them in parables? Who answered and said to them, Because to you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And so it is a very good possibility that we are not all given the same information. Now, this is weird to think about, and it might be hard to wrap your head
No, it makes
around,
sense.
but there will be people
That does make sense.
that are given information that the Lord has chosen. Does he not talk about a chosen people all the time? But it doesn't necessarily mean just the Jews anymore. But he even says to his own disciples, he said, Because to you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For he that hath, to him shall be given, and he shall abound. But he that hath not, from him shall be taken away that also which he hath. Therefore do I speak to them in parables, because seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled in them, who saith, By hearing you shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see, and shall not perceive. For the heart of the people is grown gross, and with their ears they have been dull of hearing, and their eyes they have shut, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and be converted, and I shall heal them. So to me it says there will be people that it will not be revealed to them. But again, it's kind of their fault, for their eyes and ears are shut, but it'll be deceived. They won't get this information. And he says it right there in Matthew chapter 13, verses 9 through 15, and that this fulfills the prophecy of Isaiah.
Okay, that is interesting. I know we're coming to the end of the hour.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not too stressed. Go ahead and say what you want to say.
Okay. So I've been finding out some interesting stuff. So there was something else I was going to talk about, and now it's just escaped my mind. However, the other thing, I found out something interesting. The origins of the Catholic Church. This is an interesting one. So they claim Simon Peter as like the original founder, the original
the first pope.
Yeah, right. So in this other chat room I was talking, and we kind of hit upon something. Someone, like, we were discussing some things, and someone posted something in the chat, and we were all just, oh my goodness! Like, I started watching one of the videos, reading one of the things. So apparently, this is exciting. They say that St. Peter Basilica's chapel or cathedral or whatever, the bones of Simon Peter are buried, right? This is what the Catholics believe. This is what they say. I know a guy here in my unit who's a very strong Catholic, very devout Catholic, knows a lot about this stuff. And he brought up that Simon Peter was the first pope. And I was like, I literally don't have any knowledge on that. I have no means of.
I think it's a major stretch, but yeah, that's what they say.
Well, yeah, they found something else. They found something. So a while ago, I don't remember when it was. It has to have been within the last 30 or 40 years. They found some on the Mount of Olives. So apparently the Catholic Church started going and buying up all these religious Christian sites, saying they were part of their heritage. And so they started buying these up. They put a convent on the top of the Mount of Olives. And so there was one of the priests that was there, and he was digging in doing some gardening work or something, digging out like a hole, right? And have you ever heard of what an ossuary is?
Is that for birds?
No.
I don't know that.
Ossuary. Okay. So he's digging, and he hits something, like hits rock or something. So he starts hitting it with his shovel, and then a hole opens up and his shovel falls through. And so he's like, "What?" so they got some people together and they started looking around. I don't remember how they found out. Either they dug into the top or they came in through a walled-in area on the side inside the building or something. Wherever they started looking into this place and found out that there was a chamber underneath the Mount of Olives in there. Like someone had built this chamber underneath, and inside the chamber, guess what they found?
Bones.
So, yes, in what's called ossuaries. So the standard practice of the day back when Jesus was crucified, like back then, the Romans, what they would do is when someone died, and this is a practice like everywhere at the time, when someone died, they would bury them in the ground, like, I guess probably standard 6 feet or so. They would bury them in the ground, however they would bury them. And they would wait 10 years. And after 10 years had passed, they would then dig them back up after all of the decomposition had happened, and they were no longer, it was just bones at that point. After it was done, decomposing, and it was just set of bones, they would dig up the body, dig up the bones, and put them in a box called an ossuary. And this box was like a bone box. It would hold like you take. It wasn't like a big person size. It was like a small box. You take all the leg bones and put them next to each other. Put all the arm bones on top of the leg bones, and you have the rib cage. They're like laid down maybe, or just pile on top of each other. The skull. It's a pretty small box. Compared to the size of a normal person. You're stacking up like just bones. And so they close it up and they'd stack it somewhere. And they stack a whole bunch of them on top of each other. Well, this guy was looking into this stuff, had been looking into all this type of stuff for a while. He was, I think, a physician or something, or he had an actual job that he was like a doctor or something, like an actual like medical doctor. And
whoa, you know what? Hold on real quick. This ossuary thing looks like what, catacombs in some way. Very creepy. Very.
You have the picture?
I have images of ossuaries that are large, and they look like cathedrals made out of bones. Very.
Oh,
creepy.
these were small.
This is what comes up. Anyway.
Oh, I don't see the.
I know you. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Let me help you with that. Let me get rid of this, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. I can show everybody. Hang on. Let me get on there.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm sharing that with you. Now I'm going to share it with everybody else.
Okay.
Thumbnail off. There. Can you see now? I'm sharing on the Discord.
Oh. Yeah, okay. So it's like the ossuary is like a catacomb?
It looks like catacombs to me. But the definition says a container or receptacle such as an urn or a vault holding the bones of the dead, a place where the bones of the dead are deposited.
Yes, so they were putting...
It could be big or small.
So it could have been the little chamber that they found them in, or it could have been the boxes that they were in and then deposited into the chamber.
Yeah, it could be a big chamber that some of these places look like they're decorated with bones to look like cathedrals.
Yeah.
Totally creepy.
Yeah. Cathedral death.
Yeah. Yeah, which sounds like the catacombs of like France, or somebody said like death says under the Vatican.
Yeah. Yeah, under the Vatican is probably like skulls everywhere, like heads on pikes and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Yep, that's a real pike.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just was like really creeped out by these images. I'm like, whoa.
Oh yeah. Yikes. So they found. So it's either the ossuary. I remember seeing the word ossuary. They were talking about they were stored in the ossuary. So maybe the ossuary was the little chamber that the priest had broken into.
I'm sure it could be big or small.
Yeah, but they were stored in like a box. They had like a stone box full of bones, and or like cement or something like that. But they found a bunch of these, and one of them was Simon, son of Jonah, written in Aramaic. This is in Jerusalem on the Mount of Olives. So Simon Peter, the apostle, his father was Jonah. And in there, they found several other boxes with some of the other apostles' bones in there. To include one of the Marys, one of the other women. There was some of the women that were in there. Some of the apostles were in there. And they found these in this chamber on the Mount of Olives. So that kind of was like, okay, we found Simon Peter's bones. So who's buried at St. Peter Basilicas?
Mm-hmm.
And who? So when they were looking at the stories too, this guy was referring to these stories of here's a story at this time frame. We know about when this was, when the letter was sent, when it was written, and it talked about that that Simon Peter was in Jerusalem, running around these different areas around Jerusalem, the cities on the outlying area, doing these things. And someone was asking him something, or sent a letter, or someone talked to him, or there's correspondence going on, saying he was writing these letters, doing these things in this area, right? And that's time A, and then you got a time B, and you got a time C. So time A shows that Simon Peter is running around Jerusalem doing this stuff. Then there's time B. It says that the Catholic Church says Simon Peter was in Rome, doing all this stuff in Rome, all sorts of miracles and wonders and stuff, to include shapeshift, which is weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So who would do?
That's a Catholic belief.
Why would you shape? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That makes sense.
That's a Catholic belief. And so, but then time C shows another letter saying that he's still around Jerusalem, running around doing some things around Jerusalem. So when they look at the time frame between time A and time B, there wasn't enough time for him to have left Jerusalem and made it to Rome, right? In between time A and time B. And then when you look at the time B and time C, there wasn't enough time for him to have come from Rome back to Jerusalem. So he couldn't have made it there to do these things, and he couldn't have made it back to be back to write those letters in Jerusalem. So he wasn't there, and then the Catholic Church says he died in Rome, but they found his bones in Jerusalem. So who's this Simon Peter in Rome? Who was this guy?
The actual first real pope. That's a good question.
Yeah. Who was he? Well, I know who it is. I know who it is.
Who is it?
Yeah, so there was a guy named Simon who went and met Simon Peter, and he was also sometimes called Simon Peter. And he went and got baptized with them. And when they were using the power of the Holy Ghost to heal people, he approached Simon Peter. He said, hey, I'll pay you if you give me this power of the Holy Ghost. Tell me how much you want. Does this story sound familiar to you? It's in the Gospels. It's in Luke. Might be in Luke. I think it was
somebody will clue me in.
It's Simon Magus. Simon Magus, the magician.
Oh, the magician. Yep.
He's the one who offered to pay them.
That's right.
He was doing miracles, or like tricks, little tricks.
I remember
miracles.
that Simon
He was doing
now.
tricks.
That's right.
Yeah. So he went to Rome. They said, "No, you're all the wrong spirit. Get out." Yeah, he said, "You're all the wrong spirit. Get out of here." That's not what this is all about. They didn't necessarily kick him out. They just said, you can't be of that spirit. You can't be, thinking that way. That's not the purpose of it. It's like he wanted to use it to be flashy and, be prideful and stuff like this. And they were like, no, that's absolutely the wrong way of doing things. So he goes to Rome and he starts doing these miracles. At some point, he must have started studying into mystical stuff or something. I think someone was saying he started studying into, like, I don't know, maybe the Gnostics, maybe mystical
Obvious
stuff,
occult,
maybe
magical things.
yeah, like the occult or something. But he starts doing all these miracles and wonders and tricks. There's stuff. So apparently, having tried to obtain the Holy Spirit through monetary means, which they were like, oh, yeah, you're on totally the wrong path here. And so they basically sent him away saying, no, that's not how it works. You have to actually believe. It has to be from inside. You have to believe that this is for the salvation of the world. This is the power to save. This is what this is. This is salvation that's being offered. This is not, oh, here's some money to do some flashy tricks. No, this is salvation of the soul. And he wanted to just be flashy with it. And that's not at all how God works. It's exactly the opposite. And so,
Well, that's definitely of interest, all of that.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this. Like, so where's the Catholic Church come in? How does their beginnings work in? Like, what happened? Did the churches fall away? No, they never were the original church. He went and started this church, and what he did was he took the Christian faith and then mixed it with two other Babylonian religions. And I believe it might have been Moloch, and maybe, but I believe Dogon worship as well.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, and that's why how you got the fish head on the top of the Pope's, what the Pope wears, the fish
and with
head.
the incenses, witchcrafty, all this stuff they do. Is what do they call that? Not incarnation. What is it called when they pray over the host and they say Jesus's body is now in the host? There's a word for that, and I can't remember.
Wait, what?
Transubstantiation or something like that, where they pray over the host of the Eucharist, and then they say, now this is Jesus' true body and true blood, because transubstantiation might be the word, but that's where the priest will pray over all the bread and the wine, the host, the Eucharist.
Okay.
And he says,
Okay.
he actually says a really demonic prayer of transubstantiation, I think is the word, and then that they say that now becomes the literal body and blood of Christ. But they're not
So that's almost
eating,
kind of like an attempt at necromancy, kind of.
I guess that's what you might think of it, because I mean it's so easy to. It's so easy to justify as a Catholic, which I was one. So I'm coming from the standpoint of a Catholic, and those were great years for me. Those were really, really good years for me. But you had good years you had great years as a Mormon as well.
Yeah.
So these there's a deception in that.
I absolutely believe I needed to be part of the Mormons for whatever reason. I absolutely believe that needed to happen. And I will say that it did have a lot of good results. I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped swearing, I stopped doing a lot of bad stuff. I stopped all of that. My life would have been a wreck if I hadn't. I absolutely was headed down a wrong path, a bad path, and this saved me. But it was a temporary stepping stone. As there's a guy, I haven't seen a second movie. There's a Mormon movie out there called God's Army, and it's a pretty good movie. It's about about the missionaries out there and what they deal with. and in the world, Mormon missionaries. If you're a Mormon, you understand it. You understand, what they do, why they do it, and it makes sense. And so if I watch it, when I watch it, I understand it. It makes sense to me. It's a pretty good movie. But the guy who made it apparently made a second movie. And so when I was asking some friends about it, they said, "Oh yeah," a couple of them were like, "Oh yeah, I watched it, dude. You don't want to watch it." I was like, "Why not? What's up with this?" And they said, "Well, he left the church." I was like, "You left the church? What happened?" It was like, and they told me, "Oh yeah, he said the church was like a stepping stone for him." And at that time, it probably was. There's a lot of people who are famous, who are actors, movie stars, who start out as Mormons. What we don't understand is that the Mormons, are run by the Masons. So they could very easily have just been in it for that.
What's
They could have been
interesting?
in it as part of a rise.
Sorry, finish. I didn't know you were not done.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's like, in order to be a Mason, you have to be a member of a church. And what better church than to be a Mormon where, it's controlled by the Masons, so you could easily rise up through the ranks pretty easily, pretty quickly. Right? I mean, what better way to do it than that? So,
So
go ahead.
we have, so we're still kind of, some of us are still back on the Catholic talk. The
Oh, is that
Eucharist,
the wafer?
yeah, yeah, there it is. Look at the ladder. That's something that the Masons have with their pillars and their ascension to,
Ah,
and then the monstrance that they'll hold a wafer in, and it's called perpetual adoration if they have it out all the time. So the people come
ah,
adore and worship this piece of bread inside this
a
very
wafer.
occultish, yeah, inside this very occultish
Yeah.
sun, looking,
Throne of Swords.
yeah,
Game of Thrones.
right. Yes, that's what it looks like. And it possibly could be alluding to the round table type of stuff as well, and the sun symbolism. But this is so cultish that I can see it now. But when I was a Catholic, you would have never convinced me of this. They call it a monstrance. You would have never convinced me that this was demonic. You would have never ever been able to do that when I was a Catholic, because just like probably when you were in your best years, you saw where you came from,
Oh yeah,
and you would have been like,
yeah,
"Oh, the Mormonism is not satanic. I'm better
yeah,
than I've ever been. I have
yeah,
turned
yeah. Exactly.
my life around."
I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you're saying. Because yes, I would have been the same way. Um, it just happens to be that over the last few years, while I was looking into the Q thing, I managed to meet some people who were also wrapped into the Q thing, and some of them were former Mormons who were telling me that, oh yeah, I used to be, at this particular position. Like I was um, like one guy was like, he was like a high priest, and he had been a bishop at one point, and I think he had been in the uh, the so for a bishop you have a bishopric, and the bishopric, it's like the the group of people that are with the bishop. So you have a bishop, and you have his first counselor and the second counselor, and they make up the bishopric, um, which is the all three people that are in it. Um, then so like if something happens to the bishop, the first counselor takes over. If something happens to the first counselor, the second counselor takes over. Um, um, and then you have the stake president, who he has a first counselor and a second counselor. And I believe this guy was like one of the counselors to the stake president. He had been a bishop, and then he had been one of the counselors for the stake president. And that's when he he had been going to the temple, and that's when he started looking at stuff, started realizing stuff, started going through these ordinances they go through. And he started realizing that it was actually pretty satanic. And he started realizing, oh my goodness, this whole thing is satanic. And he ended up leaving the church, dropping out and leaving the church and getting out of there. And of course, it's not like there's oh gosh, I was watching an episode of Mark Rober, where he. You ever heard of Mark Rober? You know who he is?
Mm-mm. Nope.
So he does a lot of like science experiments and stuff. He like works for NASA or something, or he works with them sometimes. I think he's an engineer for NASA. So I mean, right there, that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Right.
Yeah. So he made this thing called the glitter bomb, where he made a thing that had 4 phones pointed in 4 different directions outwards, like a box with 4 phones on the sides that point each way, so that it sat on a little pedestal, and it had this scent thing. It had this scent thing that smelled like it literally smelled like someone took a dump in your house, and then like rancid fecal matter, basically. And they found it was they put it in a spray, and they put it in there, and then they put a thing of glitter, like a bunch of glitter in there, and then they make it spray the stuff and then spin around, and it would start playing some stuff. And so as it's spinning around, throwing the stuff around, you got these, or I think it's the inside part that spins around and throws glitter everywhere. And then you had these 4 phones that were recording these people. And what it was is they were looking for. They were capturing package thieves. So they put it on someone's doorstep where there was known to have a lot of, where they were known to have a lot of package thieves. Do you see these particular ones?
No, I don't, no, keep going. I just know I'm doing that.
Oh, yeah. So they were like pranking package thieves, and then they could track down the phones. Well, they had a bunch of people who were the people who were like test subjects. They knew that people were stealing packages around their area, so they basically get this package sent to them, and then they put it outside their door, and they leave it there and wait for someone to come steal it. And then, of course, if it gets stolen, they get an alert on their phone. Mark Rober will get an alert. They get the recording online of what happened. They would see everything that had happened. And it was good times. Well, one guy didn't do it. He kept the whole container for like the phones, because it was 4 brand new phones of a certain type. So he was expecting to get them back, but this guy didn't do the trick, didn't do anything, didn't do any part of it. Said no, after getting it, said no, I'm not gonna do it. And then he said, well, can you send it back? And he just stopped contacting or stopped accepting calls, and just basically didn't allow them to do anything, or didn't allow Mark Rober or anyone to contact him back. So Mark Rober, what he did is he put this guy's name and number and address to like he ordered, like he said that this, I think it's a Scientologist, if you order like a small amount of their literature, they'll keep you in their records for life. And so he ordered like $150 worth of their stuff, sent to his address, signed him up for like all these different things, gave his phone number to them, gave his mailing address, his name, his full name, everything to the Church of Scientology. Apparently they didn't leave him alone after that or something like that. Like the guy is probably on the run. They track people after that. Once they get their name, they watch them forever. They put tails on people.
That's so creepy.
It's, yeah, so he did that, and I assume he knew what was going to happen. Well, he said he knew what was going to happen. I assume that he actually knew because he knew people in there. Well, the Mormons don't do that. The Mormons don't do that at all. They'll track people down to find out where they are, to contact them, because they're concerned for them. They're concerned that make sure that we do something called home teaching. So we make sure that, are you taken care of? Do you have any needs? Can we give you a blessing? Do you have enough food? Are you able to get to work? We're there to facilitate any need that you have, to try to help out. Can we read? Let's read scriptures together. It's really good stuff. I mean, the whole premise behind it, when you get up to the top, is all bad, but it's good community building stuff. It is a good thing. If regular Christian did what the Mormons did, I guarantee you would have a very, very strong church.
As far as their outreach,
very strong church. As far as like if we did home teaching, what they did for home teaching, they would do it once a month. We were basically doing home teaching once a month, and one of the guys, we had a list. I was in a university ward, like a university congregation, one of the congregations for the universities. We had a university there, and we had so many people, you couldn't fit them all in one meeting, so we had to split them up. That is how many Mormons were around in Arizona, and that's just university students. And they are good people. They don't know what's going on. But if we had to do home teaching, and if we did home teaching as Christians, that is such a good strength building tool. If we did and that's a monthly thing. You would check them off the list that you were able to meet with them and do your home teaching assignment with them. It's such a good thing. But regular Christians, we don't know about this stuff.
Well,
They've got this stuff all laid out.
This is why NPC said, make your home the church, because if we can't, the churches, Jesus never said, build a building for me and bring your congregation there and have a pastor at the front explaining what I've said. It said the church was where two or more are gathered. And when NPC said that, it hit me so hard, because I'm like, I really miss my church and da-da-da. But he said, make your home the church. And that's what we need to do. I don't know if I said make the church home, but what I meant to be is make your home the church. Make your home the place where we teach these things and come together in discipleship.
You want to know something else I heard recently? So I was listening to something, a radio show or I don't know, a YouTube video or something. Someone was explaining that the Catholic Church has been or is now saying that it's dangerous for people to have a direct relationship with Jesus Christ.
They have said that you need your priest.
Yeah, you need your priest, or you need an angel or some sort of intercessor.
A saint interceding.
Yeah, you need someone interceding in between you and Jesus. You cannot. That. Well, not that it isn't enough. They said it was dangerous. Now, whether it's dangerous because it isn't enough, or dangerous because it's dangerous for you to have a direct connection with them. Yeah, they don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to have a direct connection. So they put someone else in the way, which doesn't do anything, which makes nothing happen. But let's see if I remember what that other thing was, although I think it's hopelessly lost.
Well, you know what? You'll be on again, and we have gone an hour and a half, so it might drive you nuts that you can't remember it, but you'll come up with it, write it down, and we'll make a point to talk about it, because as you said, we're going into a different part of Daniel where the first 6 chapters are the story, and the rest of the book of Daniel will be prophecy.
Yeah, the first six are stories except for chapter two, and then the next half is all prophecy.
So
And
you
I've been
guys,
thinking,
yeah, go ahead.
um, I was so a while ago. I opened up the Et Sefer, that's where they took the basically the King James version, and they went back to the original scriptures, and um, they did, for those who don't know what the Et Sefer is, the Et Sefer, like ET, like Echo Tango, and then Sefer like Charlie Echo Papa Hotel Echo Romeo. It's Cepher. Um, what that is they took the original texts and they found all the words, all the names, and they converted the names to the original names. So it is kind of a hard to read even sometimes with the King James because you have Hebrew words mixed in to the King James text. So um, so you have like Mitzrayim. Do you know what Mitzrayim is?
No.
Mitzrayim is Egypt.
Oh.
So when it talks about Moses, all the stuff that was going on in Moses' time, he was in Mitzrayim. That's what they called Mitzrayim. Or that's what they called Egypt at the time, was Mitzrayim. And so he was it talks about in Moses in Exodus and stuff, how they're leaving Mitzrayim. And so you start having, I got the Et Sefer with a codex, which was the codex? Yeah, it explains what all the words mean. So I have something to look up. So, but what was it? And I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Trust me, we all know how you feel. Not a one of us have ever.
Yeah,
We've all gone through
and
that.
yeah, this is one of the things about narcolepsy is you end up
It's
forgetting things.
it's
Like,
also about normal people. It's
yeah,
just normal.
yeah,
I've had it happen so many times that I've gotten good at remembering because I've got to retrace my steps so many times. I'm talking physically and mentally. I've
yeah.
had to retrace my thought steps. I've had to trace my physical steps. And that's something my kids will say too. I'll be like,
Uh,
uh, you'll hear them say it now too. They'll say, "Oh, I need to retrace my steps," because they can't find something, and which is great
no,
because
yeah,
I've had to learn to do it in my head
yeah.
too. Well, any final thoughts you want
Nice.
to share before we say goodnight for this event of Daniel reading and trying to understand together as non-biblical prophecy scholars?
Oh, now I remember what it was.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So this goes into the dreams area a little bit. So there was a guy I was watching something called the Prophecy Club. I don't know much about him. I'm just watching, but the, he was talking about the dream that that what's his name?
Dana?
Uh, yeah, Dana. The dream that Dana had posted, and Dana was actually talking about that when he had one of his dreams, he posted it, and he said a friend of his tracks all this stuff, right? It tracks all these people having dreams. He said there's so many people having dreams right now, but he
Yeah,
said
because we're all
he
stressed out
tracked it.
going through the same thing.
Yeah, but they weren't having them before.
Yeah,
They weren't
because this
having them.
wasn't
But
going on
yeah, I
before.
get. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but but that's a what do you call it? Non something correlation. Um, what is it? What's it? Yeah, I forget what the term is. But anyway, so um, he said when he posted that dream that he had, the one that he had when he had an interview with this guy Stan from the Prophecy Club, he did an interview with him, and he said that when he posted that dream, he said, "Do you realize when you posted that dream, you were within like what was it a few minutes of like seven other people posting the same type of dream, like the same dream. So like seven other people had the same dream that he had, and they all posted within a short amount of time, having the same type of dream. And this guy Stan was saying that, so he's watching. They do a lot of stuff about prophecy, and they were watching all this stuff. And I know BDK talks about prophecy and stuff. This guy Stan has gone through some training as well, apparently. I don't know, like, being out of the Mormon Church, I don't know what all this other stuff is out here. I know Mormons, so I can tell you about the RLDS a little bit. I can tell you about the FLDS. I can tell you how they're different from mainstream Mormons. I don't know anything about the rest of these guys out here. I don't know much about the prosperity gospel teachers other than they teach a false gospel. I don't really know their names. I don't remember them because they're not.
I gotta respond, because the thing is that I have dreams too. But you know what I do before I go to sleep is I pray for protection over my dreams, because demons will definitely get into your head in your dreams. They will definitely physically attack you, but they'll mentally attack you in your dreams. I had a massively vivid dream the other night that I don't remember all of it anymore, but it was so
Was this the one you were being chased?
Yeah. We had I remember I was going in for pizza with a friend, my really super liberal friend. And the lady's like, you got to get your pizza and get out of here. They've done an immediate, like, you know how all these governors are like, oh, lockdown starting Monday at 8 a.m. You know, like, it's not even actually a real importance because they're waiting 3 days to even do the lockdown. So in my dream, it's like, no, you got to get your pizza and get out of here. They're locking down. Like, now, everybody's got a mask on now. And then the next thing I know, like, yeah, I'm running from probably BLM rioters in Antifa because they're just scary people, and all I've got is like a set of clothes I'm trying to carry, and I can't find my kids, and I don't know what's going on. And anyway, it all kind of gets blurry from there because I forget my dreams quickly too, but it was very realistic. But I'm not going to jump on and go, who else had this dream, because I don't know that came from the Lord. And for Dana Coverstone to say, I am not a prophet, but these are prophetic dreams, is a huge concern. And also
that's a claim. That's a big claim.
It's a serious claim. And also,
yeah,
we don't know that all those same dreams aren't coming from demonic entities and sources or from angels, because they certainly have a hand in our. And so that's a dream. That's a dream. That's a prayer. A prayer I pray with my kids before bed, and for myself, by myself, because I pray again by myself, that to please protect our dreams and our sleep, because they really can get you there. So I just wanted to respond saying that I have such a strong concern against David Coverstone and Dana Coverstone. And why does he need somebody else to decipher his dreams now all of a sudden? That charges.
Yeah, I started watching some of that, and I got caught up in something else I had to take care of. But the stuff I did watch was BDK, like basically breaking down all this stuff that this lady was saying was basically wrong. That like when you look at what the Masons believe, this has nothing to do with it. And it's all about what the Masons believe. It's not about, like, she's breaking it down from, like you said, like she was reading off the Wikipedia page. And it's about the whole Statue of Liberty thing. What the Wikipedia page says is not true. It's really off of the what the Masons believe. And the Masons believe something different, and they had the Wikipedia page have something else written on it.
The Wikipedia page is talking all these beautiful things about what the Statue of Liberty means, and so she's like, I'm going to go to the Wikipedia page to. I don't know that she's paying him.
She's literally making. She's like, you're literally making this up. You're literally making this up. None of this is based in reality. You're literally making it up.
She has to be, because she read off a dang Wikipedia page before she decided to decipher Dana Coverstone's dream. And I'm sure he's not paying her, but I guarantee you this is for business. This is so she'll make money, because now people are going to go, wow, I want her to tell me what my dreams mean, because that's what she apparently does for a living.
Oh, man. So here's something to think about. So Stan from the Prophecy Club, he was saying that he actually, so he doesn't just go off of dreams. He goes off of, like, what things people say. Like I don't know if he talked to or was watching videos or interviews of a guy, I forget his name, but he actually went around the country, and I mean like all around the country, giving like half-hour to like hour-long talks about how he was a Russian and how his job in the Russian government was he was part of a team. His job was to scope out positions in the U.S. to place what they call a suitcase nuke, a nuke that was small enough to fit in a suitcase,
I
in a
know
briefcase.
BDK also talks about this too. They couldn't agree on that.
Right.
He was trying to say, Dana Coverstone was trying to say it was coming an asteroid, and this guy's trying to say it's a suitcase nuke.
Now there's this video which I don't know if you watched yet. It was that one that I sent to you called God's Roadmap to the End. It shows the giant meteor on there. Do you remember me sending you that?
Yes. You just sent that, didn't you?
A while ago. But it was. Do you see it though?
No, I know. I remember it.
I'll send it to you again.
Think of how I remember it, but I do remember it.
Okay, I'll send it to you again because I really do want you to watch
I opened it
this
and read it. I did. No, that was a priest. Never mind. Okay, go on.
It's a video. it's a video. But it's this guy who's analyzing. So he's getting 3 different sources. He's going off of dreams, and then he's going off of government insiders through like Israeli News Live and other sources.
Israeli News Live cannot be trusted.
What's up with them?
There's just something you guys don't have to take my word for it, but there's just something not right with them.
They're Jewish Christians. They're Jewish people who have turned to Christ, who have accepted Jesus as their savior.
I get a bad sense about them, but I have nothing solid.
I got you. A lot of people have a lot of bad feelings about a lot of people, but they're getting off of that, and not only that, but they're what else was it? It was videos that like the Illuminati had posted out. So for instance, you have that I Pet Goat 2, that video. So you have that video, I Pet Goat 2, right? You've seen that, right? That was one of the ones we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about, oh my goodness, this has so much symbolism in it. So he was trying to base off of that, like when Dana Coverstone had his original dream of the invasion. So he didn't have Dana Coverstone's dream before. He didn't have also a lot of this like the FEMA insiders coming out to Israeli News Live. He didn't, and I believe they're coming out to a bunch of people. A bunch of people are talking about this stuff. So it's not just, I don't think it's just Israeli News Live that they're coming out to, but they're talking about some, like, they're talking about some bad stuff. Like people who work at FEMA who are like, no, I will not give out my name. No, I will not read this off. I can write to you and send you this information through a secured channel, but I cannot appear in public. They will definitely kill me. Saying stuff like that. This guy didn't have that stuff before. He has it now, but he didn't before. And so he thought that, there was going to be this stuff coming, this invasion in 2019. But nothing happened. So it was just like, okay, what's going on here? And that's when Dana Coverstone had...
They have these things every single year. Every year they think something's going to happen that year.
Yeah. Well, he had been tracking this for a while, and he said, I think 2019 is the year. And, well, I don't know. I think there is going to be this stuff this year. Like, I was watching in 2017, September 23rd, 2017, a star formation happened, right? And so I've been going off of that, okay, something's going to happen in, a good while. But I was looking at, okay, what's 3.5 years from then? And I said, well, that's March 2021. Okay, well then we probably don't have anything to worry about until March 2021. But then all this stuff starts happening. So
Well, I'm with
I
BDK
don't
that
know.
we don't need prophets and dreamers to get all the warnings
Yeah,
we needed
I
all
got you.
along that are in the
Well,
scriptures ultimately.
I want you to watch that video, the God's Roadmap to the End one, the one with the asteroid on the front cover, on the front of it. Now I don't believe asteroids is in space rocks flying around. However, it is very easy for God to create a giant ball of rock on fire and pass it
The
through the
Lord could
firmament.
do the Lord could do that, of
Yeah,
course, because He's done that before
yes,
when Sodom and
huh.
Gomorrah.
Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah,
But
and
these
it's
people
not only
aren't
that, but a
preaching.
big
These
one.
people aren't preaching joy and rejoicing towards the Lord's coming. They're creating fear and confusion, and that's
Well,
not who God
so there
is.
was well, so, oh, we're on live stream, so
Yeah.
we're, this is this is a thing though. This guy, he pulls out. There's these two people. There's a man, an older man, not an older man, a guy in his probably, I don't know, 20s, 30s. Like he's been having visions for quite a while, and then there's for a decent amount of time, and then there was some kid, a young kid, who he said he was looking down at something, and he looked over, and it was like he was in a he kind of looked over to the side, and it was like he was just in a different place all of a sudden. He was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then he saw, like, he was showing all this stuff in like a vision of all this stuff that happened. So he started drawing this stuff down. He had like an etch a sketch type thing, and he started drawing all this stuff down in this little like notepad etch a sketch thing he had. And uh, their maps match almost identical um, with some stuff, except the kid got a bunch more. So that guy saw the man saw some stuff, but the kid, him and the kid both saw a crack going from Louisiana all the way up to Washington State. The land cracking in half. I believe a third person may have seen that as well somewhere else. Maybe, I don't know. It might have just been one guy who saw it a couple of times and I'm just mixing stuff up. But then they also saw New Mexico just being a big old extra, like it's gone. Something's wrong with New Mexico. Something like it's uninhabitable or something. The kids saw meteors and he saw meteors and nukes falling down on like the eastern U.S. Like really, really bad stuff going off. He saw a giant meteor falling into the ocean, creating a massive tidal wave.
Yeah, they've been
Other
talking about
people,
that stuff every year for years. Every year for years.
yeah.
I'm gonna I'm
I
gonna
don't
cut you
know. I
off because
think
we're going long. We're
okay.
going.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we've been going on for a while.
I know you want to believe it. I know I don't want to. Some of that's
Well,
confirmation bias, and I think some of it's discernment.
yeah, I'm just looking at it and saying I think I should just be prepared for whatever comes.
Well, how are you going to
Is
prepare
this
for
stuff
that? What are you going to do to prepare? I mean, here's the
pray?
thing: is okay, fine,
Start
pray,
praying.
but don't send out the. I mean, these are clowns. BDK, if you watch what he goes, he discusses like how Dana has
Yeah.
already made some. He's already made some predictions that have not happened. And why do people gloss over that when the predictions don't happen? Just like
Mm,
Jonathan Kleck. As soon as I learned that
right.
Jonathan Kleck
So
had made predictions that don't come true, I'm like, I'm done with him. I'm not going to listen to people who are making predictions that don't come true because it says in the scriptures that these are the people to watch out for, and they are going to be punished for that. And Dana Coverstone needs to repent. That's but
okay. So
it doesn't
so here's
matter
a
if
here's
this
a
stuff is coming. We are supposed to live with peace and joy and looking forward to
right
Jesus' return, not in
right.
fear.
Oh yeah. I'm not afraid. I don't have fear.
You're
This is
not, but
something
he's
that
scaring people.
oh yeah, yeah. You do have a point. Um, there's something that Stan was saying was that if we have the ability to pray things away. Do you know about that? Is that
Well, yeah, I pray for more time. What if I end up getting more time and the rest of you all just get blown off the earth? I don't know.
So apparently he has a pretty big group of people. And apparently what happened is they got together and prayed against some things. And so he was saying that some of the stuff that people have been seeing haven't happened because they specifically prayed against them. And then they didn't happen. Now, I don't know if maybe they just didn't happen because they were like false prophets, false dreams. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what's really going on here. Maybe they just are being fed dreams by demons, and we don't know. It could also be that they are actually having dreams given to them by God, and someone else has taken notice and decided to pray against them and have made them not happen by praying against them.
I don't know why the Lord would choose Dana Coverstone. I don't know why the Lord would choose Dana Coverstone, who needs to hire somebody to decipher his dreams.
Yeah. I don't know. That does seem a little questionable, or actually really questionable. Like,
well, at least you're willing to listen. To that kind of stuff.
I'm willing to listen to it because when I was following Q, and you were the one who brought me back from Q. I don't remember.
Praise Jesus.
Yes, praise Jesus.
Well, okay.
I was following him. I was lost, and you brought me back.
Well, and again, this is why we do this, because it's easy. I could just go, you know what, I'm cutting you off because we disagree. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. Now, if you were toxic to me, like I'm not going to go talk to Dana Coverstone because I'm sure he's toxic. I don't want anything to do with the man. I will never have a conversation with him much except for to say I disagree with what you're saying. But he's too popular now anyway.
Aaron, I got you a meeting with Aaron.
Dana, that would be curious.
Yeah, Dana.
But what I will say is that I do have friends that I disagree with on some things, and AJ brought one of those friends up. I'm not going to get into it. But that doesn't mean that he's toxic to my life or that he's feeding me stuff that's going to harm. He's not a stumbling block to my life. If I believe he becomes a stumbling block, then that's when I cut people off. So y'all would know. If you're a stumbling block to my life or you're getting me into something that's going to harm my relationship with the Lord, then you got to go out of my life and I can't have you around anymore.
Right.
So there are people that I'm going to stick with and people that I'm not. So I just wanted to say that doesn't mean I cut people out. You do have to be careful. And if I have a friend that I think needs to repent, I will tell them. I will tell them that I think they need to repent from a particular behavior, a particular thing. So anyway, with that being said, we've gone now almost 2 hours.
Oh boy.
I would appreciate. You want to pray, or do you want me to? We'll pray. We'll close this out with prayer.
I want you to pray this time.
Okay. So if you're willing, guys, let's bow our heads and close our eyes and focus on the one thing that matters most, Jesus, our relationship with our Lord Yeshua. So Lord Jesus, we come to you and thank you for this conversation. We are friends in this community. We love each other, and yes, we should check each other if we have concerns for what we're doing, but we should also praise each other for the great things that are going on. And I love my friend Benz, who comes to me and helps me read through scripture that we've never read through before all the way, and that we are not scholars in Bible prophecy or even scripture itself without the prophecy. But Lord, you said where two or more were gathered, you were there, and you're helping us to learn, and our opinions are important. And we pray that we are guided by you and you alone, Lord Jesus. We're willing to be wrong, but we're also excited when we're right, and that we are a conduit for your message, and that we give you all the glory in all that we're doing. We lift you up, Lord Yeshua HaMashiach of Nazareth, and we praise your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
So, there we go. Blessings and peace. And I'll close out with a song, and I'll wish you a good night. Okay, Benz?
Okay, thank you.
And all right, let's do this again soon.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, good night.
Hey, I'm before you go, I'm on leave right now till the 30th.
Okay.
So I have a lot of free time right now.
You're free. Great. We might finish up Daniel before you go back to AKA work or whatever. So let's try to make that a goal. If we don't succeed, it's okay, but we'll try to make that a goal to get done with Daniel before the 30th.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Good night, Benz. Thanks for your
Uh-huh.
time.
Good night. Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Bye.
I used to think everything was a big mistake. Didn't care about a thing except making bank. Now my thoughts have changed, for goodness sake. Replace my hate with solid grace. Been faced with the guilt of my own reflection. Lost face down in the wrong direction. Sought forgiveness and redemption. Brought by the King who bought my salvation. Stopped my search, found satisfaction. Trapped unaware of my sinful actions. Now I'm back on a mission, and what I'm asking, are you aware of the path you're traveling? Raised like a dead man out of the grave. I've been born again like a newborn babe. Praise to the King who made death a slave. He died, then he rose so we could get saved. Saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get
Christ
saved
from the raging waters like pararescue. Blessed dude, and I ain't even sneezing, say hi true. What you do when you know your life is ending? Cause you keep on sinning like some atheist women. Live your life down in sickness like sick with patience. Better turn your life around. God is losing his patience and it's tasteless. That sin is moving your feet. Cause sin is bad for your soul like candy's bad for your teeth. I don't want no cavities, only live for my majesty. Learn to call on him when the devil comes to battle me. Ain't no tragedies cause Christ is better. Cause the devil loosens your life like looseness sweaters. While you out chasing the cheddar, out chasing the girl. Cause you living for the world and you want diamonds and pearls. Let me tell you dog, your soul's depraved. So you know what you need to do dog, you need to get saved.
Saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get
we all
saved.
gotta get saved from ourselves in the flesh. Cause without God in our life, dog, our life is a mess. Feeling the stress of every single day that we living. We're on the right track, but we're constantly sinning. It's a given, God knows that we're going to do it. But you gotta give your life to him to get you through it. But instead of that, you find yourself out at the club, looking for love, sipping back on that bub, getting them hugs from the girls, they're showing you love. But the next day they singing, we don't want no scrubs. And that's usually how it goes when they ain't so tipsy. Last night you were pimping, but you ain't no pimp, G. And that's what's so funny, the world's view we live in. The Satan's way ain't a guaranteed or a given. I know you really feeling like you just got played. Just focus on Christ, dog, it's time to get saved.
Saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get saved from the great deception. Saved from yourself and your own intentions. Get made like a new creation. Now is the time for transformation. Get saved.